High Admiral Vexthor stood at the command bridge of the Drachnid Empire's flagship, the Eternal Dominion, his scaled fingers drumming against the holographic display. The massive warship hung in the darkness of space, just beyond Earth's detection range. His silver eyes narrowed as he studied the primitive defense systems of the blue planet below. "These humans," he spoke, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of conquest, "they still use projectile weapons and combustion engines. Their most advanced aircraft can barely break atmospheric escape velocity." He turned to his second-in-command, Commander Rithka, whose biomechanical implants gleamed under the bridge's ambient lighting. "High Admiral." Rithka's metallic voice carried a note of caution. "The Intelligence Division has noted some peculiarities about their combat doctrine. Their historical records show." Historical records. Vexthor's laugh echoed across the bridge, causing several junior officers to flinch. What could their history possibly teach us? The Drachnid Empire has conquered 1,000 worlds. We have reduced entire civilizations to dust. These humans haven't even unified their planet. The holographic display shifted, showing Earth's military bases, aircraft carriers, and satellite networks. To Vexthor, they looked like children's toys compared to the Drachnid's quantum-powered warships and plasma artillery. The invasion began at dawn, Greenwich Mean Time. The Drachnid Empire's first wave consisted of 300 ships, each carrying thousands of elite troops. They expected Earth's military to crumble within hours, their leaders to surrender within days. Their intelligence suggested that humans valued individual life too highly to risk prolonged conflict. What they didn't understand was that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology, but in their adaptability and their fierce determination to survive. As the first Drachnid ships breached Earth's atmosphere, they encountered something unexpected: silence. No immediate counterattack, no desperate nuclear launches, no worldwide panic. Instead, Earth's military forces had gone dark. Bases appeared abandoned, ships seemingly deserted, aircraft hangars empty. Vexthor interpreted this as surrender, a sign of humanity's weakness. He couldn't have been more wrong. Major Diana Rodriguez, commanding officer of the 75th Ranger Regiment, watched from her camouflaged position as the alien dropships landed in what they thought was an abandoned military base in Colorado. Her troops lay hidden in precisely calculated positions, every angle covered, every approach monitored. They had trained for this moment since the first hints of the alien fleet appeared on deep space telescopes 3 months ago. "All units, maintain position," she whispered into her tactical comm. "Let them get comfortable. Let them think they've won." Her soldiers, hidden in underground bunkers, beneath holographic terrain masks, and in specially designed stealth suits, waited with the patience of predators. The Drachnid troops emerged from their ships with the arrogant confidence of experienced conquerors. Their powered armor gleamed in the morning sun, their plasma rifles hummed with barely contained energy. They moved in perfect formation, following protocols that had worked on 100 worlds. But Earth wasn't like those other worlds, and humans weren't like other species. As the alien forces spread out across the base, Diana's finger hovered over her tactical trigger. The Drachnid sensors showed them nothing but empty buildings and abandoned vehicles. They didn't detect the nanite-enhanced camouflage systems developed in secret by human scientists who had reverse-engineered fragments of alien technology from crashed scout ships over the past decade. Now, Diana breathed and pressed the trigger. The ground beneath the Drachnid troops erupted, not with explosions, they had expected those, but with a specially designed electromagnetic pulse calibrated to the exact frequency of their armor's power systems. As the alien soldiers stumbled, their systems temporarily disabled, Rangers emerged from their hiding spots with practiced precision. The first battle for Earth lasted exactly 7 minutes. When it was over, 300 Drachnid soldiers lay unconscious, their advanced armor nothing more than expensive metal shells. Not a single human casualty. High Admiral Vexthor received the report with disbelief. Impossible, he snarled, his claws leaving deep scratches in his command console. Send in the second wave. Full combat protocols. No mercy. But as he gave the order, a small doubt crept into his mind. Perhaps, just perhaps, they had underestimated these humans after all. Commander Rithka watched the tactical display with growing concern as red warning indicators bloomed across Earth's surface. The second wave of Drachnid forces was encountering heavy resistance everywhere they landed. But it wasn't just military resistance. The humans had turned their entire planet into a weapon. In the South China Sea, a Drachnid assault carrier discovered this the hard way. As it moved to deploy troops near what appeared to be an abandoned oil platform, the entire structure transformed. Massive electromagnetic harpoons, disguised as drilling equipment, launched and embedded themselves in the carrier's hull. Before the ship could respond, gigawatts of power surged through the cables, overloading its shields. Status report. High Admiral Vexthor demanded, his composure cracking as more ships went dark. Sir, we're detecting industrial-scale electromagnetic weapons hidden in human infrastructure. They've weaponized their entire power grid. Rithka's mechanical eye whirred as it processed the data. Their cities, their factories, their power plants, they're all weapon systems in disguise. In orbit, the Eternal Dominion's sensors detected movement. Hundreds of seemingly defunct satellites suddenly activated, revealing themselves as a network of orbital defense platforms. They weren't advanced by Drachnid standards. Their sheer number and strategic positioning made them a serious threat. On the ground, the situation was even more dire. In the mountains of New Zealand, Lieutenant Kira Thompson led her squad of combat engineers in what appeared to be a fighting retreat. The Drachnid pursuit force followed, their superior technology giving them confidence in their victory. Almost there, Kira muttered, checking the terrain markers on her augmented reality display. The alien forces were closing in, their plasma bolts scorching the earth around her team. But every step of their retreat had been carefully planned. As they reached a narrow valley, Kira gave the signal. Her engineers activated their devices, and the very mountains seemed to come alive. Thousands of microscopic drones, developed in secret laboratories and seeded throughout the landscape, swarmed into action. They infiltrated the Drachnid armor through microscopic joints and seams, disrupting systems and jamming weapons. The alien soldiers found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't see or shoot. Their advanced armor, designed to withstand energy weapons and explosives, had no defense against this kind of attack. Within minutes, the pursuit force was immobilized. Back on the Eternal Dominion, High Admiral Vexthor received reports of similar scenarios playing out across the globe. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were winning. Their tactics defied conventional military doctrine. Instead of meeting the Drachnid forces head-on, they turned their technological disadvantage into an advantage. How? Vexthor demanded. How did they prepare all this without our knowledge? A junior analyst, braver than most, spoke up. Sir, we may have misinterpreted their internal conflicts. What we saw as weakness, their constant wars, their divided nations, it was actually preparation. Every battle they fought against themselves taught them something new. They've been innovating, adapting, evolving their tactics for centuries. In Washington, D.C., General Amanda Chen stood in the Pentagon's newly revealed Quantum Command Center, watching the global battle unfold. The facility, built in secret beneath the old building, represented humanity's trump card, a command and control system that could coordinate Earth's defense forces with unprecedented precision. Status of Operation Trojan Horse, she asked, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Phase 1 complete, General, her aide reported. The Drachnid forces have committed 60% of their fleet to the ground assault. Our embedded systems are active in 30% of their landed vessels. Amanda allowed herself a small smile. The Drachnid Empire had expected to find a primitive civilization easy to conquer. Instead, they found a species that had spent its entire history preparing for this moment, whether they knew it or not. every war, every conflict, every arms race had pushed human military technology and tactics forward. And now, as the second wave of alien forces faltered, the true scope of humanity's preparations was about to become clear. The counterattack was ready to begin. "Initiate Phase 2, General Chen commanded. Show them what humanity is really capable of." Above the Earth, the stars began to shimmer as humanity's hidden fleet dropped their stealth fields. The Drachnid Empire was about to learn that they weren't the only ones who could build warships. They were just the only ones arrogant enough to show them off. The reveal of Earth's orbital fleet sent shockwaves through the Drachnid command structure. These weren't the primitive vessels they had expected. These ships represented humanity's best-kept secret. For decades, nations had quietly pooled resources, sharing breakthrough technologies, while maintaining a facade of rivalry and limited space capability. High Admiral Vexthor stared at the tactical display in disbelief as hundreds of human vessels emerged from their stealth fields. Their design was unlike anything in the Drachnid database, a fusion of multiple technological approaches that made them unpredictable and dangerous. "Impossible," he whispered. "Their energy signatures, they're using gravitic drives." "And more, sir," Commander Rithka reported, his cybernetic systems struggling to analyze the human ships. "Their hull composition suggests metamaterial technology. They've somehow combined multiple theoretical approaches into working systems." The first clash between the fleets revealed another surprise. The human ships didn't fight like conventional space forces. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, they moved in seemingly chaotic patterns, their formations constantly shifting like schools of fish. Admiral Maya Patel, commanding Earth's first space defense fleet from her flagship Prometheus, watched as her forces executed the combat doctrine she had spent years developing. Every ship captain had trained in simulator pods for thousands of hours, practicing maneuvers that would have been considered insane by conventional standards. "Execute Pattern Sigma," she ordered. "Show them what we learned from the ocean." The human fleet split into smaller groups, each moving with the fluid grace of predatory fish. The Drachnid ships, arranged in their rigid combat formations, suddenly found themselves surrounded by vessels that refused to behave according to any known tactical doctrine. On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, alarms blared as human ships seemed to appear from impossible angles, striking with weapons that bypassed their strongest shields. Each human vessel carried a different combination of technologies, making it impossible for the Drachnid combat computers to predict their capabilities. "They're not just fighting us," Commander Rithka realized, his mechanical eye rapidly scanning the battle data. "They're learning from every engagement. Their combat algorithms are evolving in real time." In low Earth orbit, Dr. Marcus Rivera monitored the battle from the International Defense Station, a massive facility hidden beneath the cover of various civilian space stations. His team of quantum computers processed combat data from every engagement, updating tactical protocols and sending new attack patterns to the fleet. The Drachnid ships relied too heavily on their predictive combat systems, he noted, watching as another alien vessel fell to the human fleet's unconventional tactics. "They expect enemies to follow established patterns of space warfare. We never developed those habits. We had to create our own doctrine from scratch." The battle in space coincided with a coordinated ground offensive. Across Earth, hidden military facilities activated, revealing weapons and vehicles that combined human ingenuity with reversed-engineered alien technology. But it was the human soldiers who proved to be the most formidable weapon. Colonel James "Ghost" Morrison led his special operations team through the hull breach of a grounded Drachnid destroyer. His soldiers moved with practiced precision, their hybrid combat suits combining stealth technology with enhanced strength systems. "They never expected us to board their ships," he commented over the tactical net as his team systematically disabled the vessel's internal defenses. "They thought their technology gap would protect them. They didn't realize that humans have been practicing shipboarding actions for thousands of years." The Drachnid crew, trained to repel conventional military attacks, found themselves facing soldiers who fought like both warriors and hackers. Every human carried computer intrusion systems alongside their weapons, attacking both the ship's systems and its defenders simultaneously. Back on the Eternal Dominion, High Admiral Vex Thor watched his carefully planned invasion crumble. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were systematically dismantling the Drachnid military's technological advantages. How long have they been preparing for this? He demanded. The answer, though he didn't know it yet, was simple. Humanity had been preparing for this moment since the first time one tribe of humans had faced another in combat. Every war, every battle, every conflict had added to their collective knowledge of warfare. While the Drachnid Empire had relied on technological superiority, humanity had been forced to innovate, adapt, and overcome. And now, as Earth's forces pressed their advantage, the true cost of underestimating humanity was becoming clear. The tide hadn't just turned, it had become a tsunami. The Drachnid Empire had never experienced anything like this. Their soldiers, trained to rely on technological superiority and overwhelming force, found themselves facing an enemy that turned their own psychology against them. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their hidden fleet or their hybrid technology, it was their adaptability and their unbreakable spirit. On the Eternal Dominion, a junior psychological warfare analyst named Crix delivered a report that shook the Drachnid High Command to its core. The humans, she explained, her voice trembling slightly, they don't fight like a unified species should. Each group, each unit, each individual soldier appears to have their own unique approach to combat. They're not following a standardized doctrine, they're innovating in real time. High Admiral Vex Thor watched the tactical feeds with growing unease. In Australia, human forces had turned the outback into a deadly maze of ambush points. In Russia, their troops used the harsh winter conditions to their advantage, appearing and disappearing like ghosts in the snow. In the Amazon, they seemed to become one with the jungle itself. They're not just fighting us, Commander Rithka observed, they're celebrating it. Every victory, no matter how small, seems to strengthen their resolve. Their morale should be breaking, but it's actually increasing. The truth was becoming clear. Humanity's fractured history, which the Drachnid Empire had seen as a weakness, had created a species of warriors unlike any they had encountered before. Each culture, each military tradition, had contributed something unique to Earth's defense. In the mountains of Afghanistan, Captain Amar Hassan led a combined force of local fighters and special forces operators against a Drachnid ground base. Their tactics were a fusion of ancient guerrilla warfare and modern technology. My grandfather fought invaders in these same mountains, Amar told his troops as they prepared their attack. He taught me that the land itself is a weapon if you know how to use it. Today, we add some new tricks to the old ways. The attack began not with a frontal assault, but with a series of carefully orchestrated avalanches. As the Drachnid forces scrambled to respond, they found their senses blinded by specialized chaff that mimicked the mineral composition of the mountains. When they switched to visual scanning, they faced an enemy that seemed to emerge from the rocks themselves. Meanwhile, in the Pacific Ocean, Commander Yuki Tanaka coordinated a different kind of warfare. Her submarine fleet, enhanced with reversed-engineered alien tech, struck at the Drachnid ships from the depths. The aliens had never considered the ocean as a battleground, and their shields were optimized for space combat, not the crushing pressures of the deep. In space, they have the advantage, Yuki transmitted to her fleet. But down here, in the darkness and pressure of the ocean, we are the ancient ones. We are the creatures they should fear. The psychological impact on the Drachnid forces was devastating. Their entire military doctrine was based on the assumption that technological superiority guaranteed victory. Now they faced an enemy that turned their own technology against them while employing tactics that their combat computers couldn't predict. Dr. Sarah O'Connor, leading Earth's Psychological Warfare Division, monitored the effect their resistance was having on the invaders. The Drachnid Empire built a society on the belief that advanced technology makes them superior, she noted. We're not just defeating their forces, we're shattering their entire worldview. In orbit, Admiral Maya Patel's fleet continued to demonstrate humanity's unpredictability. Her ships executed maneuvers that seemed to defy physics, using the gravity wells of Earth and the Moon in ways that the Drachnid tactical computers classified as irrational and suicide until the moment they succeeded. Humans have always been told what we couldn't do. Maya transmitted to her fleet. We couldn't fly. We couldn't break the sound barrier. We couldn't reach space. Every time, we proved them wrong. Today, we prove wrong those who thought they could conquer us. The Drachnid soldiers began to show signs of psychological strain. Their combat effectiveness decreased as they faced an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere, that fought with both primitive fury and technological sophistication, that turned defeat into motivation rather than despair. High Admiral Vexthor, watching his invasion force crumble, finally understood what his empire had awakened. Humanity wasn't just another species to be conquered. They were the product of countless generations of warfare, survival, and adaptation. Every human soldier carried within them the legacy of every warrior who had come before them, from ancient battles with spears to modern special forces operations. We didn't invade a primitive world, he realized, watching another Drachnid battle group fall to human tactics. We invaded a planet of warriors who have been preparing for this moment since they first picked up stones as weapons. And they're not just fighting for victory, they're fighting for their very existence. The realization came too late. Earth's defenders had already begun their counteroffensive, and the Drachnid Empire was about to learn just how terrible humanity could be when fighting for survival. The United Nations Security Council chamber, now relocated to a hardened facility deep beneath the Swiss Alps, buzzed with an energy unprecedented in human history. Former adversaries sat side by side, centuries-old rivalries forgotten in the face of a common threat. The Drachnid invasion had achieved something remarkable. It had united humanity. Secretary-General Isabel Santos stood before the assembled leaders of Earth's nations, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's collective resolve. For millennia, we fought among ourselves. Today, those divisions make us stronger. Every culture, every military tradition, every unique approach to warfare becomes another weapon in humanity's arsenal. On screens around the chamber, tactical displays show the coordinated global counteroffensive. Russian hypersonic missiles launched from the Siberian tundra worked in perfect concert with American stealth technology. Chinese quantum communication systems linked with European cyber warfare units. Indian space forces coordinated with Brazilian ground teams. General Wei Zhang, speaking from his command post in Singapore, addressed the council. The Drachnid Empire expected to find a divided planet. Instead, they face humanity united. Every battle they win teaches us. Every soldier they defeat inspires 10 more. We are no longer Chinese, American, Russian, or European. We are Earth's defenders. The Global Coordination Center, spanning multiple underground facilities across continents, hummed with activity. Dr. Marcus Rivera's quantum computing network had evolved beyond its original parameters, learning from every engagement, every tactic, every victory and defeat. The Drachnids rely on predictable, programmed responses, he explained to the assembled military leaders. But human creativity, our ability to improvise, to think laterally, it's something their systems can't compute. Each of our cultural approaches to warfare adds another layer of unpredictability. In orbit, Admiral Maya Patel's fleet demonstrated this principle. Her ships now incorporated tactics from every naval tradition on Earth. British naval warfare doctrines from the Age of Sail merged with modern Chinese maritime strategy. Ancient Viking raiding patterns were adapted for space combat, while Japanese naval aviation principles found new life among the stars. Form up on pattern theta, she commanded. Show them how Earth's navies fight. The human fleet moved like a living thing, each ship acting with individual initiative while maintaining perfect coordination. The Drachnid vessels, still bound by their rigid tactical protocols, found themselves overwhelmed by an enemy that fought with both precision and chaos. On the ground, the integration of Earth's military forces produced equally devastating results. Colonel Aisha Roman led a multinational special forces team in North Africa, their operation combining Bedouin desert warfare tactics with modern technology. "Our ancestors crossed these deserts on camels," she told her team as they prepared to strike a Drachnid ground base. "Today we cross them in stealth vehicles, but the principle remains the same: knowledge of the land, patience, and the element of surprise." The attack that followed demonstrated humanity's new unified approach to warfare. Traditional desert fighting tactics, passed down through generations, were enhanced by technology shared between nations. The Drachnid base fell in hours, its defenders unable to counter an enemy that fought like both ancient nomads and modern special forces simultaneously. High Admiral Vexthor, watching from the Eternal Dominion, struggled to comprehend the transformation he was witnessing. "They were fighting among themselves mere months ago," he muttered. "How can they coordinate so effectively now?" The answer lay in humanity's unique ability to adapt and unite in the face of external threats. Former enemies now shared military secrets, combined tactical doctrines, and fought side by side. Every nation contributed its strengths: Israeli urban combat expertise, Swiss mountain warfare tactics, Korean technological innovation, African guerrilla warfare experience. In the Pacific, a joint task force demonstrated this unity in action. Japanese submarines worked alongside Australian surface ships, while Filipino special forces conducted boarding operations supported by Indonesian air power. Each force brought its own combat traditions, creating an unprecedented synthesis of military capability. Commander Yuki Tanaka, coordinating the naval operation, smiled as another Drachnid ship fell to their combined tactics. "They thought our divisions made us weak," she transmitted to her multinational fleet. "They never understood that diversity makes us stronger. Every culture, every tradition, every way of thinking adds another weapon to our arsenal." The Drachnid Empire had awakened something they couldn't have predicted: a humanity united not just in purpose, but in warfare. Each battle strengthened this unity, as soldiers from different nations shared techniques, adapted each other's tactics, and fought together with growing effectiveness. Secretary General Santos, watching the global counteroffensive unfold, addressed the Security Council one final time. "We have spent our history learning to fight. Now we will show them what humanity can do when we fight together." The tide hadn't just turned, it had become a tsunami of human unity and determination. And as Earth's combined forces pressed their advantage, the Drachnid Empire faced a terrifying realization: they had invaded a planet of warriors, and now those warriors fought as one. The final phase of Earth's counteroffensive began not with a bang, but with silence. For 23 minutes, all human forces ceased fire simultaneously. In orbit, on the ground, and in the depths of Earth's oceans, humanity's warriors waited. The psychological impact on the Drachnid forces was immediate and profound. High Admiral Vexthor stood on his command bridge, his scaled hands trembling slightly as he watched the tactical displays. "What are they planning?" he demanded. "Why have they stopped?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Sarah O'Connor's voice broadcast across all frequencies, reaching every Drachnid ship and ground force simultaneously. "You came to our world believing us primitive," she announced, her voice calm and measured. "You thought our divisions made us weak. You saw our varied cultures as a disadvantage. This is your final chance to understand how wrong you were." When the attack resumed, it demonstrated humanity's full capabilities. Every lesson learned, every tactic developed, every technology mastered came into play simultaneously. Earth's orbital fleet executed maneuvers that seemed to defy physics, their formations flowing like water around Drachnid defensive screens. Admiral Maya Patel's voice carried across the command network. "All ships, execute Operation Prometheus. Show them what humanity has become." The human fleet split into smaller groups, each adopting different tactical approaches. Some ships charged forward like ancient cavalry, while others moved with the precision of modern stealth fighters. The combination overwhelmed the Drachnid tactical computers, which couldn't predict or counter such varied attack patterns. On the ground, Earth's unified forces launched their own coordinated assault. Colonel James Morrison led a multinational strike team in a daring attack on the Drachnid's primary ground command center. His force combined warriors from 30 different nations, each bringing their own combat traditions to the fight. "We are humanity's answer to their arrogance," he told his team as they breached the facility's outer defenses. "We are every warrior who ever lived, every battle ever fought, every lesson ever learned." The Drachnid defenders found themselves facing an enemy that fought with impossible variety. Some human soldiers moved with the fluid grace of martial artists, while others struck with the raw power of modern warfare. Traditional combat techniques merged seamlessly with advanced technology, creating an approach to warfare that the aliens couldn't comprehend. In the war room beneath the Swiss Alps, General Amanda Chen watched the global offensive unfold. "Initiate final protocol," she ordered. "Let them see everything we can do." Hidden weapons platforms emerged from the ocean depths. Stealth satellites revealed their true capabilities. Every piece of technology humanity had developed in secret, every tactic they had perfected, every strategy they had crafted came into play at once. High Admiral Vexthal watched in horror as his invasion force crumbled. The Eternal Dominion, pride of the Drachnid fleet, found itself surrounded by human ships that seemed to anticipate its every move. His crew, once confident in their superiority, now showed signs of panic. "How?" he whispered, watching another battle group fall to human tactics. "How did we misread them so completely?" Commander Rithka, his cybernetic systems struggling to process the battle data, finally understood. "Sir, we thought the history of warfare was a sign of primitiveness. Instead, it was preparation. Every conflict they ever fought taught them something new. They weren't destroying themselves, they were evolving." The final battle lasted less than 6 hours. When it ended, the mighty Drachnid invasion force lay in ruins. The Eternal Dominion, its weapons disabled and its engines dead, received Earth's terms of surrender. Secretary General Isabel Santos, speaking for all humanity, addressed the defeated High Admiral. "You came to conquer what you thought was a primitive world. Instead, you found humanity. Adaptable, resilient, and unbreakable. Remember this lesson: we are not primitive. We are not weak. We are humanity, and we will never surrender." In the aftermath, as the Drachnid Empire's forces retreated from Earth's space, humanity began to understand its new place in the galaxy. They had not just defeated an alien invasion, they had demonstrated something unprecedented in galactic history. A species divided by culture, language, and tradition had united to become something greater than the sum of its parts. Admiral Maya Patel, standing on the bridge of her flagship, watched the last Drachnid ships disappear into hyperspace. "We've changed," she observed to her multinational crew. "We're no longer just Earth's defenders. We're humanity united, and the galaxy will never be the same." In the decades that followed, the legend of Earth's defense became a cautionary tale throughout the galaxy. The Drachnid Empire's defeat marked the emergence of humanity as a force to be reckoned with. But more importantly, it taught an eternal lesson. True strength lies not in technology or numbers, but in the indomitable spirit of a species that refuses to be conquered. The stars had witnessed something new. A primitive world that proved to be anything but, a divided species that found unity in resistance, and a humanity that had finally realized its full potential. The galaxy would never underestimate Earth again.